as many are touting a Big Bang deal as the father of all deals. Last night, after a phone call between Prime Minister Narendra Modi and US President Donald Trump, there has been a trade reset. My colleague Hina Gambhir also joins us on this broadcast. But before that, we have some breaking news coming in. The United States' Agriculture Secretary has issued a strong statement backing the India-U.S. trade deal, with officials from Team Trump now hailing the agreement as a major win for American farmers. The U.S. side has claimed that the deal is aligned with the America First farm agenda and is expected to increase agricultural exports to India. The Agriculture Department has also said that the agreement aims to reduce the United States' agricultural trade deficit with India by $1.3 billion. To understand what this messaging from the US means, we have Gaurav Vallabh also joining us on this broadcast, and we will actually make our viewers understand why this huge trade reset between India and the United States is being called a historic turning point. Mr. Vallabh, good morning and thank you for joining us on this broadcast. First of all, I want to ask you, from the policy perspective, what does today's big day and this reset between India and America signal?
First of all, we have to understand that few months back, the US had imposed a tariff of 50%. Now that 50% came down to 18%. So what precisely this means? That if I am a handicraft manufacturer and if I am making a furniture of 100 rupee that was costing 150 in US before yesterday night, and from today it will be 180. So naturally the exports in the sectors like handicraft, textile, leather products, pharmaceuticals, chemicals, the large engineering equipments, because these are the major exports by India to United States. So those exports will be more competitive in the US. These exporters, especially in the MSME sector as well as in the large corporate sector, are going to be largely benefited by yesterday's announcement. Please appreciate one more thing, that India, after EU and Japan, because on EU and Japan, America had imposed 15%. After EU and Japan, India is the second lowest tariff country where the tariff is imposed by US. So on EU and Japan, it was 15%. On India, the tariff which got imposed is 18%. All other countries with whom we are having a competition in textile, leather, like Bangladesh, Vietnam, Philippines, are having a tariff rates of 20%, 21%, right, 22%. So our export competitiveness and our export share is going to increase in US. Our MSMEs and our large corporates are going to be benefited by yesterday's announcement.
Professor Vallabh, absolutely, this one thing is very clear, that it's going to end uncertainty. It's going to make our exporters more and more competitive, which wasn't really the case over the last few months, because we were paying 50% tariff. Textile stocks, of course, have reacted very positively. But Professor Vallabh, I want to ask you, what have we committed in terms of imports from the United States of America when it comes to the agricultural space? Because that was a very important issue. President Trump mentioned, about agriculture in his post, and now the update we got from US Agriculture Secretary is also very, very significant.
See, I just want to remind you Prime Minister Modi ji's statement few months back when this tariff issue was evolving and the discussions were on table. He had categorically mentioned that there will not be any iota of discussion which will have a negative impact on our Annadata, on our fishermen, on our people who are dependent on animal husbandry. So if I recall, हमारे मछुआरे, हमारे गौपालक और हमारे अन्नदाताओं के इंटरेस्ट के विरुद्ध कुछ भी हम डिस्कशन नहीं करेंगे. That was the exact quote by the Prime Minister of our country, and the actual details of the discussions and the agreement will be shared by the Commerce Ministry or Agriculture Ministry. But I and the entire country had full belief there will not be anything against the interest of our farmers, our fishermen, and our people who are dependent on animal husbandry.
Right. Professor Vallabh, you know, while voices in America are calling this an America First deal, one that serves the interests of farmers in America, for the understanding of the Aam Aadmi watching this morning, Mr. Vallabh, does this tariff cut mean more jobs, more export orders? You know, who gains first from this? Farmers, MSMEs or large exporters, and how quickly can this translate on the ground?
Naturally, just on the lighter note, just 5-6 days back, we had a mother of all deal, and today we have father of all deals. So now we had completed the entire process of coupling the father and mother, and it is going to have a big impact on the jobs and big positive impact, because in the budget also you had seen that how MSME sector was targeted in the form of equity infusion, in the form of liquidity support, in the form of having corporate mitras to take the schemes to the micro enterprises level. So MSME sector, especially as I told you, handicraft, gems and jewelry, textiles, leather products, chemicals, and some engineering specific products are going to have an immense benefit after yesterday's late night announcement. And with proud I can tell you one thing, that the way our government had handled this, the maturity at which we had handled, we had not reciprocated, because we were of the view that we will arrive at some consensus with U.S. and yesterday we had achieved.
Right.
I am proud to say that the personal equations and personal friendships of our Prime Minister is giving boost to the economy.
Right.
So this is a proud moment. As an Indian, I am saying this thing. It is a proud moment because of the maturity at which we had handled this important and critical issue.
Right.
You might have seen that lot of times some opposition leaders had tried to provoke by making absurd statements, but the government had taken the entire thing at a very high level of maturity.
But then, Professor Gaurav Vallabh, opposition is still raising questions, because it was US President Donald Trump who made this big announcement before anybody from India. And this is what opposition is raising today, because we saw similar scenes during Operation Sindoor as well. You know who announced the ceasefire first. So this is what the opposition is now talking about.
On ceasefire also, time and again it was answered that the ceasefire were announced because the Pakistan had come out and said we can't tolerate, please have ceasefire. With folded hand, when Pakistan EGMO had approved our military operations head, the ceasefire had happened. This was answered, and this was clarified time and again by our defense experts, by our generals. So I don't want to enter here, but I am more interested that Prime Minister Modi had also tweeted that we had arrived at a consensus as far as the US trade deal is concerned. It's a win-win situation for the democracies of both the countries. It's a win-win situation for the citizens of both the countries. It's a win-win situation for corporates and MSMEs and small enterprises of both the countries. Right. So I am more focused and I am more interested to read the tweets or the messages of my Prime Minister.
Okay.
And I am today I am thanking President Trump also to arrive at a consensus.
Right.
And this is going to give benefit and boost to the US economy also.
Absolutely. Professor Vallabh, one last question before we let you go, because, you know, the viewers are also interested in knowing whether we will stop buying Russian oil completely now, because this is the claim that has been made by President Trump in his post. When Prime Minister Narendra Modi responded, he did confirm that it was a wonderful conversation we had. He did confirm that now India is going to pay 18% tariff instead of course, 50 that we were paying earlier, which included a penalty of 25% for buying Russian oil. But, you know, Indian side has not really responded on whether we are going to completely stop buying Russian oil. What are your thoughts?
Exact details about this agreement, the Petroleum and Natural Gas Ministry, their spokesperson, the External Affairs Ministry's spokesperson will give. But I can tell you one thing with 100% confidence, without, I'm not saying 99.99, with 100% confidence, that Prime Minister Modi ji is not going to take any decision which is against the interest of the citizens of our country. That I can ensure you. But from my side, giving any statement on the Russian oil and this issue, I think the External Affairs Ministry's spokesperson and Oil and Natural Gas Ministry's spokesperson, they will be more equipped to answer this. भारत के इंटरेस्ट के साथ किसी भी प्रकार का कोई समझौता ना तो हमने किया है, ना करेंगे, ना आगे कभी करने का सवाल उठता है. That is
there has been no compromise when it comes to national interest. This is what Professor Gaurav Vallabh is saying. Thank you very much for speaking with us here on Times Now. And Sagarika, I think that's the reason why markets are just loving this moment.
Yes, and they're roaring since morning, Hina. But, you know, we are also hearing another kind of a narrative coming in from critics. While, yes, we are hailing the mother of all deals, the father of all deals, but there are critics who are saying this is the grandmother of all surrenders. And we'll tell our viewers more about it. But time now for us to take a short commercial break.